Welcome back, boys and girls. We are getting ready to read the very last chapter of James the Giant Peach, chapter 38. It has been so fun reading this story to you between school and virtual school, and I hope you enjoyed this book as much as I do. So before we begin, I want you to remember at the end of chapter 38, there is going to be a quiz for the last 9 chapters. 9 chapters because several were very short. So remember, at any point, you are more than welcome to go back and rewatch any of the videos that I have created to review the chapters. And of course, you should have with you your handy dandy sustainable friend that you can talk to and they can listen to refresh your memory as we went. So hopefully I want you to stop and pause my video. What has happened so far in James the Giant Peach? Where are we? What's happening? I'll be waiting. So welcome back. Hopefully as you are talking to your stuffed animal friend, you reviewed what happened. Remember, James and his friends landed on top of the Empire State Building very safely. However, they completely shocked New York City. They were freaking out. They thought this giant bomb was about to be exploding upon New York City, and they were all making a mad dash to their cellars and safety areas and the subways until it landed on the Empire State Building. At which point they realized it wasn't a bomb, but now they were curious. So they sent up the police chief and the head of the fire department, who once again became very scared when these bug-headed, especially the super nice centipede, popped up from behind the peach. So they didn't really calm down until they saw, you're right, James. At which point, James nicely chanted a song about each one of his new companions, and it made the police chief and the head of the fire department more at ease, where they were more excited about bringing them down from top of the peach. So here we are, chapter 38. Let's go. 5 minutes later, they were all safely down, and James was excitedly telling his story to the group of flabbergasted officials. And suddenly, everyone who had come over on the peach was a hero. They were all escorted to the steps of the city hall where the mayor of New York made a speech of welcome. And while he was doing this, 100 steeplejacks armed with ropes and ladders and pulleys swarmed up to the top of the Empire building and lifted the giant peach off the spike and lowered it to the ground. Then the mayor shouted, "We must now have a ticker tape parade for our wonderful visitors." And so a procession was formed. In the leading car, which was an enormous open limousine, sat James and all his new friends. Next came the peach itself. Men with cranes and hooks had quickly hoisted it onto a large truck, and there it sat now, looking just as huge and brave and proud as ever. There was, of course, a bit of holes in the bottom of where the spike of the Empire State Building had gone in. But who cared about that? Or indeed about the peach juice that was dripping out onto the street. Behind the peach, getting about all over the place in the juice, came the mayor's limousine. And behind the mayor's limousine came the 20 other limousines carrying all the important people of the city. And the crowd went wild with excitement. They leaned out the windows of the skyscrapers, cheering and yelling and screaming and clapping and throwing out bits of white paper and ticker tape, and James and his friends stood up in the car and waved back at them as they went by. Then a rather curious thing happened. The procession was moving slowly along Fifth Avenue when suddenly a little girl in a red dress ran out from the crowd and shouted, "Oh, James, James, can I please have a tiny taste of your marvelous peach?" "Help yourself," James shouted back. "Eat all you want. It won't keep forever anyway." No sooner had he said that than about 50 other children exploded out of the crowd and came running onto the street. "Can we have some too?" they cried. "Of course you can," James answered. "Everyone can have some." The children jumped onto the truck and swarmed like ants all over the giant peach, eating and eating their heart's content. And as the news of what happened quickly spread from street to street, more and more boys and girls came running from all directions to join the feast. Soon there was a trail of children a mile long chasing after the peach as it proceeded slowly up Fifth Avenue. Really, it was a fantastic sight. To some people, it looked as though the Pied Piper of Hamelin had suddenly descended upon New York. And to James, who had never dreamed there could be so many children as this in the world, it was the most marvelous thing that had ever happened. By the time the procession was over, the whole gigantic fruit had been completely eaten up, and only the big brown stone in the middle, lit clean and shiny by 10,000 eager little tongues, was left standing on the track. So we're going to stop and look at the picture. Imagine what this would be like. I want you to visualize it in your head. Now, I was mistaken. There's actually chapter 39 as well that I'm going to continue to read. So keep paying attention. How do you think James is feeling at this point? That will be part of your exit ticket, so make sure you're paying attention. And thus the journey ended, but the travelers lived on. Every one of them became rich and successful in the new country. The centipede was made vice president in charge of sales at a high-class firm of boots and shoe manufacturers. The earthworm, with its lovely pink skin, was employed by a company that made women's face cream to speak commercials on television. The silkworm and Miss Spider, after they had both been taught to make nylon thread instead of silk, set up a factory together and made ropes for tight rope walkers. The glowworm became the light inside the torch of the Statue of Liberty, and thus saved the grateful city from having to pay a huge electricity bill every year. The old gray grasshopper became a member of the New York City Symphony Orchestra, where his playing was greatly admired. The ladybug, who had been haunted all her life by the fear that her house was on fire and her children all gone, married the head of the fire department and lived happily ever after. And as the enormous peach stone, it was set up permanently in the place of honor in Central Park, became a famous monument. But it was not only a famous monument, it was also a famous house. And inside the famous house, there lived a famous person. You guessed it, James Henry Trotter himself. And all of you had to do any day of the week was to go and knock upon the door. The door would always be open to you, and you would always be asked to come inside and see a famous room where James had first met his friends. And sometimes, if you were very lucky, you would find the old green grasshopper in there as well, resting peacefully in a chair beside the fire. Or perhaps it'd be the ladybug who had dropped in for a cup of tea and gossip, or the centipede to show off a new batch of particularly elegant boots he had just acquired. Each day of the week, hundreds and hundreds of children from far and near came pouring into the city to see the marvelous peach stone in the park. And James Henry Trotter, who once, if you remember, had been the saddest and loneliest little boy you could find, now had all the friends and playmates in the world. And here's a picture. And because so many of them were always begging him to tell and tell again the story of his adventures on the peach, he thought it'd be nice to one day sit down and write a book. So he did. And that is what we have just finished reading. James and the Giant Peach. Thank you for listening to as I read James the Giant Peach. As I mentioned, you're going to have some questions to answer to show you understand the passage. You want to make sure you understand how the characters changed from beginning to end. Why were they accepted into New York City? These are a few questions you can stop and talk to your stuffed animal friend before you stop the video and take your quiz. Good luck.